I'm not here to waste any time, let's just get right into it. So there's a video out by someone named Ultimate Joker going over how Peter was pretty much screwed over in terms of showcasing his skills in the newest game, Marvel Spider-Man 2's story. And I highly recommend you watch it, as it really goes well into what makes this character kinda fumble in these cutscenes. Suffice to say, there were naturally going to be folks who disagree really hard. People with videos justifying or explaining the cutscenes where Peter looks not great to say the least. And there's one specific video out now responding to some points made by Joker and trying to go for refuting the claim of Insomniac Spider-Man being nerfed. I usually don't like to do it or entertain this such a thing, but I never thought I'd be making a response video either. But I also said I'd never play Tekken 8, yet here I am. Obviously, I'm not going to go over everything in the video, but pretty much the majority of things. So without further ado, I want to indulge in some petty online debacle over a fictional character. The video was by a guy named Crispy Crib, and if it's not obvious enough, yes, I will be siding with Joker, as I damn near 100% agree with what he says, minus a handful of exceptions.
Hey guys, this is a response to a video on Marvel Spider-Man 2, and I won't mention his name because this is not an attack towards him, nor do I want people going into his comment section and be like, well, you're a stinky poo-poo head, you had an opinion about a video game and it was so bad that I need to write a super hateful comment. No, I don't want any of that. This is literally just a response to that video.
A few things. One, his channel is not even remotely hard to find, especially when you've got his thumbnail smacked right onto yours, and especially when all you have to do is look up Peter was nerfed and it comes right up. Two, when you do this kind of video, by nature, it's going to invoke people to run to the video you were responding to. Sure, you can say you don't condone it, but you should be aware that a specific response is likely to occur that you want to avoid, especially in this community. Just say the names of who's in question, there's no point in hiding it. I also want to keep in mind what he says here, because he says he doesn't want to add hateful commentary to this video for disagreeing with it.
Kraven, who has now become ridiculously overpowered, ends Spider-Man in under a minute. Harry later has to give Spider-Man the symbiote so he doesn't die. He almost died to stupid shit like this.
He almost died to stupid shit like what? We already shown Kraven is able to beat a lot of Spider-Man villains, and he doesn't even consider Miles or Peter a threat. And clearly Peter wasn't expecting him to block his punch, since he seems to just be an enhanced human. So why would Peter use all of his strength in one blow? It wouldn't make any sense. He doesn't know how powerful he is.
Is this even really a counterpoint? We're just speaking in whataboutisms here. Why would Peter use all his strength in one blow? Why would Peter just swing on Kraven casually like this if he knows he's a bigger threat? Why would his spider sense not go buck wild against Kraven? We can ask questions like this all we want, but it won't refute anything stated, and it won't disprove anything either. It's just pointless.
Not to mention the dumb predictability of where this was all going.
Are you an idiot? like no, seriously, the game trailer shows the symbiote suit in it. That's like saying in Spectacular Spider-Man or Spider-Man 3, you see the symbiote crawling around and you're like, oh, I know where this is going. Like, fucking obviously.
So not even a minute in and we can already throw out the whole...
Because this is not an attack towards him, nor do I want people going into his comment section and be like, well, you're a stinky poo-poo head, you had an opinion about a video game and it was so bad that I need to write a super hateful comment. No, I don't want any of that.
Given that we're already throwing insults, which is perfectly fine, who cares, it's the internet, shit talking happens. But at least be real about it and just say, yo, I don't agree with this guy and I'm gonna give him shit while responding. I'd rather you guys not go in and flood his comments, but I know you're gonna do it anyway. That's all you have to do. As far as what's actually pointed out here, yes, it's obvious Spider-Man's gonna get the black suit. You also adding to it being obvious isn't gonna make it less obvious.
People have given some excuses like him not being ready for Kraven's enhanced strength, but even then, that shouldn't mean you instantly die to what's only an enhanced human.
He mentions this here, but I don't understand, because isn't Green Goblin an enhanced human? Isn't Doc Ock an enhanced human? Isn't Martin Lee an enhanced human? So you shouldn't be able to die by these guys by your logic then either, right?
I feel like I shouldn't have to say it, but this comparison is just not real at all. Sure, you can say they're enhanced humans, but the difference is all these villains you just listed didn't come as close to killing Peter in these scenes as Kraven did in this scene. That's the problem you seem to be ignoring. Spider-Man actively fights the other guys and wins on his own. Spider-Man did get stabbed by Goblin in that scene in No Way Home, but he wasn't gonna die from it. he walks that piece off. Here, the game's point was literally that Spider-Man was actually gonna die shortly here from this, and the only reason he gets out of it is thanks to the symbiote healing the wound.
Gosh, the scaling of Kraven being this overpowered is just ridiculous.
I don't. The power scaling for Kraven was ridiculous because this is a different version of the character. And I'm going to be repeating that a lot in this video because I'm not sure if he understands there's different power scalings for different versions of the characters, since he seems to be making that a point in his video.
Okay, first off, Crispy here is aware the power scaling is ridiculous. He says so himself. So he's willingly rejecting the complaint that Kraven, a normal dude with training, shouldn't be this strong to begin with. Another thing he uses is this different versions of the character have different levels of strength argument, which is obvious, but that's not the point. The reason other versions of the characters are compared is that more often than not, they didn't come off as weak as this version of Spider-Man does. Perfect example, while this game tries to go super hard out of its way to point out that Kraven is a normal person yet stronger than a man who can lift cars somehow, Spectacular Spider-Man makes it a point that Kraven at worst will just give Spider-Man a hard afternoon before he gets home. Spider-Man in this show struggles a bit but takes Kraven down pretty smoothly, and even points out that
you're good. Maybe at the whole hunting thing, you're even the best. But when it comes to the New York superpowered scene, you're out of your league.
Now, this scene actually makes sense because this is Spider-Man's very first time seeing Tombstone, which justifies Spider-Man's mistake of underestimating him, unlike Kraven.
Not sure the point you're trying to make here. It's also Spider-Man's first time facing Kraven, and yeah, I see the point you're trying to make with the video of him killing Scorpion, but I still feel that doesn't give him a full understanding of his power, like I said before.
Despite that loss, Spider-Man later defeats Tombstone near the ending of the show, which is some hella great payoff that shows character progress.
The character progression that Spectacular went through took 6 months in the canon timeline. I even checked, and him versus Kraven was maybe a week. I actually don't know the amount of time, but I do know it was a short amount of time. Also, this scene is stupid, by the way, because why didn't Tombstone just kill Spider-Man if he's messing with his business? There was no reason for Tombstone to not just kill him right there.
I don't know why you're bringing up the time frame of the events of Spectacular compared to this game's as if that helps. This isn't even a counter argument, you're just saying things. What you said doesn't take away from the point that there's still development as Spider-Man beats Tombstone later in the series. In between the first meet and the final confrontation, the relationship between Tombstone and Spider-Man is meant to be complicated. Sure, he wasn't direct friends with Spider-Man, but they did work together with their goals aligned. And Spider-Man couldn't just take Tombstone down whenever he felt like it without facing serious issues until there was enough evidence to put him away. Again, here Kraven nearly kills Spider-Man, and Spider-Man never really gets back. Venom ends up killing Kraven to still the main villain spotlight. Notice the comparison we're making here. Spectacular loses the first round of Tombstone, beats him when the time comes. Insomniac nearly dies to Kraven, fails to beat him the second time, and then the kill is given to someone else to rank up for the points. And when you ask things like, why didn't Tombstone just kill Spider-Man right then and there, I wonder how much of the show you paid attention to. Tombstone doesn't kill Spider-Man right away because he literally wants Spider-Man to work for him. He makes him an offer to ignore crimes that Tombstone gives the nod on, and he'll pay him for it. So I don't know why you even asked this when in the same scene you're looking at there's an answer right in front of you.
As opposed to Kraven, where Spider-Man never beats this guy without the symbiote. We never see Kraven get overpowered by anything except the symbiote, so therefore those shitty shorts have no real proof of Spider-Man being stronger.
We never see Symbiote Spidey beat Kraven without the symbiote, so that means he couldn't do it, is basically what you're saying?
No, that's not what he said at all. He's saying that since the symbiote was the only thing involved towards Kraven getting fucked up in these games' cutscenes, there's no real fair proof within the game that says otherwise. Sure, we can assume that he can lose to things besides the symbiote, but that's an assumption.
Which I feel is illogical because we don't see it. It's this thing called a game where time is limited for a story. That's like saying in Spider-Man 3, Peter was only able to beat Sandman with the symbiote even though we don't see it. We see him fighting in the red suit one time and he loses. Guess what? That means he can't beat him without the symbiote.
This is probably the most disgusting straw man I've heard in my life. Joker here isn't saying that because he did something with the black suit, it instantly means he can't do so without it. The problem is the fact that he was never able to get anything done before without the symbiote or some other third party to help him out. I'm also really not liking the Spider-Man 3 slander here. I get that it wasn't a great movie, but damn, Spider-Man didn't lose his first fight against Sandman. Unlike your boy Insomniac, he actually can put up a fight. That fight ended with Spider-Man noticing trapped civilians in the crossfire, so he forgets about Sandman and focuses on saving them as he should, and in that process, Sandman bails.
As opposed to other media that shows the black suit as something that makes things easier, not something that's a crutch that he absolutely needs.
Did it not make his fight easier? He doesn't absolutely need it. He's beaten lizards before without it.
Actually, no, as you can see, it didn't make things easier. The city was actively getting destroyed as Spider-Man chased down the lizard while dealing with the hunters. If that's easy to you, I wonder what you consider hard.
I wish Peter could have beat a villain on his own.
A complaint can be made that Peter didn't beat a villain on his own. Yes, I'm sure that he could have beaten an enraged Sandman that was tearing up New York on his own. I'm sure that he could have beaten a guy that he doesn't know the limits of his powers. I'm sure he could have beaten Venom, by the way, a cracked version of Venom on his own. That's all sarcasm, by the way. They didn't nerf him. These are villains that are bigger threats than the Six, and that's why he has more trouble beating them alone. Miles couldn't even fight those guys alone. I don't understand this because it's clear he was fighting lower level threats like Lee, but he doesn't have a chance in this game because he's dealing with bigger threats.
You are missing the goddamn point, dude. The problem is that in every cutscene, Peter Parker is made looking like a clown against any major villain without the symbiote. Miles has a solid W he gets on his own and benefits his character in probably the best arc in the game. Peter Parker should have that too, and without it relying on someone or something else, but he doesn't.
Peter is amplified by the symbiote and has just beat Kraven without breaking too much of a sweat. But Miles, who just lost to Kraven, somehow beats Spider-Man and even outstrengths him in this one shot here.
I know this is the most controversial topic that Peter should have beaten Miles, and I think the Gaming Rift has a better explanation of how Miles won, and I'll show that now because he can explain it way better than I can, and he actually has some really amazing points.
Yeah, I really don't care about whatever explanation you want to hit me with on this. You can make excuses and explanations behind events that happen all you want, but it doesn't help. We have what we have. Spider-Man has a symbiote, is at a point where he has no reason to hold back on his student, but still lost to him. And it doesn't help that this game shows that Peter couldn't get rid of the symbiote and have an important moment of self-reflection on his own and needs Miles' help to get it.
As Peter gets knocked into a fridge that falls on top of him and pins him. I've seen cucks try to argue that, oh, it's just 2 seconds he was down for. But no, they make an effort to show him get pinned for around 11 seconds, as could be shown by my timer.
Why is it so hard to imagine a fatigued Peter that got caught off guard being down for 11 seconds? And even in the first game, Peter was pinned down by Mr. Negative under some debris in basically the same situation. Because guess what? He got caught off guard, and no one complained about that scene.
Yeah, no one complained because he got back up just fine and fought like a badass. Here, he gets back up, tosses the fridge, and then looks at Venom taking MJ and just does nothing. This is Spider-Man, and he watches this guy wrap his tendrils and drag his girlfriend away and does nothing. I don't care what anyone says, any better version of Spider-Man would have lunged like hell at Venom and been ready to rip his head off for even touching MJ, hairy or not.
Unlike Web of Shadows, once again, where Spider-Man gets to stay badass and beats a bunch of symbiotes and a black cat that got infected with the symbiote.
I mean, this is a weird situation with Web of Shadows.
It's not.
Because it's shown that Peter doesn't hold back as much against Black Cat, but I still feel like Insomniac's version was actually handled better than the symbiote Black Cat.
It wasn't.
Because Peter, I don't feel is holding back at all, but we still see he ultimately does care.
Obviously. This may be a weird concept to you because you're too focused on defending Spider-Man getting bodied, but it's very possible for a character to hold back while still fighting like a badass. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I know this is hard for you to grasp that, but it's very possible for a badass fight segment to happen and showcase a character's skills and emotions without being too one-sided.
Maybe he won't get folded by Venom anymore. Oh, wait, he's still getting his ass kicked. He's not even holding his own, he's just getting his ass kicked still.
Venom is being shown to be the strongest threat he's ever faced, so yeah, he's getting his ass kicked, and I have no problem with this.
This guy is so bad at making a counterpoint. Who cares if you don't have a problem with it? The issue is that Spider-Man's not even putting up a fight in cutscenes or doing much in this, let alone the rest of the game. Saying that you enjoy it doesn't help your case in the slightest. As I've stated before, you can have it both ways. It's very possible to showcase Venom being a threat while having Spider-Man actually fight back and look at least a little decent while doing it.
By sexually motivated, I don't mean the slew of flags and geisha that doesn't belong in a game that a bunch of 8-year-olds will play, as I covered before.
Man, those 8-year-olds must be some cucks for enjoying enjoying this game, right?
This was actually your golden opportunity to make a solid counterpoint. Hell, I don't even agree with what Joker said there, but you handled it in the worst way possible by just dismissing it passively without even engaging. All you had to do was point out that no 8-year-old really cares about that, or point out that how those side missions are just optional and shouldn't matter. Anything would have been better than nothing, and if you didn't want to engage with a political aspect like that, then why even bring it up?
I went through every fight with Insomniac Spider-Man 2, and unless you want to count nameless thugs, it's the fact that he loses all the time.
Again, this is dumb. All the threats he was facing in this game were shown to be higher than in the first game.
So does that now mean he's just incapable of taking them on? And I'm sorry, all the threats in this game are higher than those in the previous? Mysterio, Kraven, Lizard, you're telling me they're all bigger threats than Electro or the 2v1s he dealt with in the last game that are absent from this game? Yeah, somehow I don't see that.
There's a side mission where he fights Yuri, who becomes a light Punisher knockoff vigilante called Wraith, but that fight shows no conclusion and looks like more of a draw against a mere human somehow.
Yes, again, Spider-Man is going to give it all against someone that used to be his friend.
I mean, he may as well, right? Because according to you, all his threats in this game are way bigger of a deal than the last game. Not so fun when your points are misrepresented, is it? Now to actually engage with what was said, I will repeat again, he can hold back while still looking superior in the fight. Like Insomniac, Crispy isn't capable of understanding that a fight scene doesn't have to be overly one-sided. All you have to do is just have the fight end with Spider-Man holding back but also outplaying Wraith hand to hand. Why is this so hard?
Not just with him losing a 1v1 to Rhino.
Rhino is a weird case because, yeah, he's not able to defeat him 1v1. And even Spider-Man himself says the Rhino is stronger than him. And Spider-Man was even able to beat Scorpion and Rhino at the same time. But I think it really depended on the environment they were in, and that's why he lost.
Oh, okay, so now we're just straight up just discrediting Spider-Man's better accomplishments in order to make up for his inconsistent failures in this game? Bro's using whatever excuse he possibly can in order to explain why Spider-Man's looking weaker in damn near every cutscene.
Some guy managed to make an 18-minute video compiling Peter getting saved and injured, which definitely says enough.
Someone made a video about Spectacular getting beaten up for 19 minutes, but he still comes out on top. And to be fair, some of his fights he shouldn't even be walking away from objectively.
I would love to hear which ones he shouldn't be walking away from objectively. Please, I'm waiting for it. Can you outline the difference yourself? Spectacular Spider-Man gets folded, but he still gets back up when he's down on his own. Insomniac Spider-Man does not do this. Not anymore, at least.
Don't use a story moment from an actual good Spider-Man story to justify your shit brain rot plot that only dumbins can enjoy casually on a first playthrough at generous best.
You heard it here, folks. If you're a casual and you enjoy this game, you are a dummy. You can't just enjoy a game anymore. You are a dummy butthead if you enjoy this game. You are a cuck that has no friends, loser, scrub, dummy head. Get out of here.
You know what? I actually agree with Crispy here. Just because some fans like myself and Joker look at this from a more critical perspective shouldn't mean you're wrong for enjoying it casually, even if it requires you not to think about it. But it's here where he goes on this huge ramble about how people who view things like this are just assholes for looking at it this way, I guess.
Imagine being called a fan and not even really giving any reasons to how they misunderstood the characters. Give me reasons and they'll be proven wrong. And I know what you're gonna say, well, the French pinned him down for 11 seconds, that's why Insomniac hates the character. Screw you, man.
Right. Well, I don't think Insomniac is the worst portrayal, but I do want to once again outline the main point of this entire criticism that people seem to want to ignore. This version of Spider-Man has no right to be labeled the most skilled version, on par with Arkham's Batman. Not when he's losing to normal people with training and no powers, not when he needs help from others all the time, and not even after all his tech upgrades. There are a lot of aspects to Peter's character I feel that Insomniac did fine with, but I attribute those mostly to the previous games, which handled his showcase of skill way better than this one. I get that Miles is the new up-and-coming main Spider-Man of this series, and I'm okay with that, but we don't need to butcher Peter's character entirely for that. We can showcase his skills and showcase him holding back, We can showcase his skill and showcase him actually being challenged and struggling. We can showcase his skill without him getting shown up by his girlfriend with no powers.
Give me reasons why he's the worst Spider-Man adaptation too, and I'll defend them, because I really don't see a problem with the character of Peter Parker nor Miles Morales. I'll even change my mind if you give some logical points. He also has another video saying Insomniac Spider-Man isn't comic book accurate, and I'm not even gonna bother with that video because the title says enough.
Are you willing to engage or not? He says he wants to hear people out on this not being a great version of Peter, but within seconds, he shows he doesn't want to listen to what someone else has to say based on the title. He then rambles about how toxic the Spider-Man community is, and his receipts for that are brain-rotting takes on Twitter and YT comments.
The last thing I really want to talk about in this video is Spider-Man fans. It's such a toxic community. Not everyone is toxic, but the fact is, we are a horrible community. People complain about the most stupid things, and it's just embarrassing. I'll always be a Spider-Man fan, but I don't even like associating myself with toxic fanboys. Here are just some examples that I think are absolutely stupid. Someone on this movie rating website or app purposely brings down the score for Across the Spider-Verse just because they think the score is too high, and then they give their actual score in the rating. Like, seriously? We have people hating on Shamik's Miles for no reason at all. We have people complaining about adding web wings to the Ravi suit even though it is a game mechanic. We have people even complaining about the symbiote suit, which I guess that's just your personal opinion.
He goes on about this for a while, and he's not entirely wrong, but I gotta ask, who are you fighting here? You're taking the worst complaints and comparing them to a criticism someone else made that had actual receipts to back his points up. Your responses to them weren't even good counter arguments. You were just making weird headcanon excuses or trust me bro receipts for why the issue is okay and justified just because you're cool with it. You haven't said anything that shows Peter not being nerfed and being stronger than what people can interpret. The criticism itself has completely went over your head from the beginning, and now you're conflating actual criticism and personal complaints or just hating. Look, we all clearly like Spider-Man. If you clicked on this, you probably have a love for the character as well. And when there's criticisms towards his games, comics, movies, or shows, or whatever, usually it's coming from a place of wanting that media to be a lot better. Why? Well, I don't know about you, but as a fan of Spider-Man, I hold his media to a higher standard because I want him to have the best game of the year. But he sure as hell isn't gonna get that when you have apologists like this who are okay with the bare minimum on top of a straight up bad look for the character. Nothing is wrong with pointing out the fact that Spider-Man actively looks weak in the cutscenes of the newest game, and I can only hope that we learn from this for the next main game in the series. But with the track record being what it is, I doubt that's happening. So instead, I'll just hope the next game is simply a better story and overall better experience. At least a little bit better than what we got here. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is not a bad game, but it's a game that should have been a lot better. And when talking about this aspect, we're only scratching the surface. At the end of the day, Peter did get nerfed, and nothing in this video proved otherwise. It just looked for Weasley ways to justify it.
The old Kanye, straight from the gold Kanye, chop up the soul Kanye, set on his goals Kanye, I hate the new Kanye, the bad mood Kanye, the always rude Kanye, spaz in the news Kanye, I miss the sweet Kanye, chop up the beats Kanye, I gotta say, at that time I'd like to meet Kanye, see I invented Kanye, it wasn't any Kanye, and now I look around and there's so many Kanyes.